Hi guys, we have got Jonathan here today from ProGood, and Jonathan is going to talk to us about ProGood, the benefits of these incredible prebiotics and probiotics. So firstly, thank you, Jonathan, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now, Jonathan, what is ProGood?
ProGood, fundamentally, it's a symbiotic. So, which is a combination of pro and prebiotics. So, prebiotics being a fancy word for fiber. You know, you might have heard, like recently, it's a bit of a buzzword, but fundamentally, it's non-digestible fibers. But as a symbiotic, ProGood is basically designed that the prebiotic fiber feed the probiotic strains as they go down the digestive system. So, essentially, it's kind of like a bit of a packed lunch, where the probiotics actually feed and multiply. So, the whole purpose of ProGood is really to provide top quality probiotic strains, then boosted to higher levels with the prebiotic fiber. So, for example, in the original formula, where there's 30 billion, or the plus formula, which is 50 billion, we've got 4 strains in the plus formula. What you're looking is that 30 or 50 billion probiotic strains actually multiply into the trillions. Because the digestive system, you're talking, trillions of bacteria down in the gut, 90 to 100 trillion different bacteria in the microbiome. So to have sort of powerful effects on gut health, you need to hit them with trillions of probiotics, and good strains of probiotics as well is always handy. So that's the basic of what makes ProGood different to a lot of other probiotic formulas on the market.
What's the difference between a prebiotic and a probiotic?
Probiotic is beneficial bacteria. So probiotic means for life. So generally anything that is classified as a probiotic is a good bacteria that benefits our health. Prebiotics, not really sure why they call them prebiotics. My dad, as a microbiologist, was always wondering that. But prebiotics is just fiber, non-digestible fibers that feed the probiotics. So you'll hear a lot, with fiber, like All Bran and high fiber products that feed the good bacteria in our digestive system. But in ProGood, the role is to feed the probiotic strains that we have in the formula. So that's the fundamental difference: fiber and good bacteria.
And talk to us, I guess, about the importance of incorporating a good prebiotic and probiotic into your diet.
Yeah, fundamentally, it all begins in the gut, right? So more importantly, what we say is everything begins with the bacteria in the gut. So when we feed ourselves certain foods or whatever it might be, we're actually feeding that bacteria down in our digestive system. So the importance of gut health is fundamental. The more we see, more research that's being done. We're starting to look at how the gut affects the brain. For example, autism. There's links to children with autism and high clostridia, which are toxin. Basically produce toxins, bacteria in the gut that produce toxins, neurotoxins that can affect brain development and behavior, down to your IBS, bloating, acid reflux, skin problems. The gut is responsible and the starting point for everything and the basis of our health, really.
So when it comes to, I guess, the people that would be inclined to take a supplement like ProGood, talk to me about who they might be.
Well, look, the platform varies in terms of our customers. Like myself, for example, I don't have any digestive issues. I take the product every day, every second day, with the greens formula, for example, in the morning, or before I go to bed, with a protein shake, maybe. But for me, prevention's better than the cure. I prefer to keep my microbiome well balanced and keep the good guys down there. Because you've got to keep them topped up. Probiotics don't colonize the gut. But then you've got people with Crohn's disease, C. diff, IBS issues, celiacs, so bloating, acid reflux, So really the spectrum, because our gut is such a fundamental part of our health, it could be a maintenance thing, or we could be using it to solve a problem or a gut issue.
You mentioned powder, so talk to me about the products in your range.
Yep. So fundamentally with the powder, why we go for a powdered formula over a tablet formula? One of the fundamental reasons is that, how you can mix it in whatever you want and just put it in serving. Some people don't like pills, some people do like pills. But the fundamental is that we like to hydrate the probiotics in, say, water or milk, so that when they hit the stomach acid, they don't need to suck in stomach acid. So, because the first thing that you can have with, say, a tablet formula is that once the tablet breaks down, if it breaks down in the stomach, for example, that's very acidic. And then right after that is bile. So you don't really want the probiotics, sucking in acid for their first, because they're moisture hungry. They love moisture probiotics, right? The gut is the ideal environment, right? And also temperature. But so we would prefer to hydrate the probiotics in water in that powdered formula first, so they don't have to suck in stomach acid, and increases the survivability rate as well when it hits the small intestine.
Fantastic. And in terms of, I guess, how often you take it, you mentioned that you use it every couple of days, I guess because you don't have any, digestional issues. What would be the norm out there for somebody to use it?
For someone that doesn't have any issues and maybe wants to do it from a maintenance perspective or a prevention perspective, every day or two, just as one serving, For someone that's got issues, like I said, like you might want to be doing it every day, morning and night, because there's obviously bad bacteria causing issues that we need to suppress.
You mentioned that you had a great chart that was, I guess, explaining about prebiotics. Have I got that right?
Probiotics.
Probiotics.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that chart?
So that chart is basically, if you have it up on the screen, that E. coli was a really bad E. coli. It actually killed a woman in South Australia. But what they did was they took, I think it was 49 strains of probiotics available on the Australian market. So they're grabbing all these probiotic strains, which you'll see on that chart. And they tested them against this E. coli that killed this woman and see how they suppressed that E. coli. Now, from that chart, the red strains are the good strains. So they're the ones that suppress the E. coli. Right? But the green ones are actually increased the growth of the E. coli. And the ones in the middle, the round, the green and the red, basically did nothing or just didn't want to play ball whatsoever. So having no effect on the E. coli. So it's all, oils ain't oils, really. The old Castrol commercial, I think it was. The same in probiotics. It's what we call efficacy, the ability of a probiotic strain to suppress bad bacteria. Now, on top of that, if you have a look at the chart, if the text is big enough, you'll see like the strains that we use in ProGood, right? There's an acidophilus and a bifidobacterium there that we use. And then the Plus product, we've also taken a Rhamnosus and a Boulardii from this kind of data to make sure we're getting good probiotic strains. But if you have a look at some of the green ones, there's some acidophilus strains that help increase the growth of the E. coli. So there's some Rhamnosus strains that helped increase the growth. So you've got an acidophilus strain suppressing a bad bug, and you've got an acidophilus strain increasing the growth of a bad bug. So, you've got to be aware of, consumer awareness, I think it is, that you're getting the right strains. Yeah, so you've got to know then the subspecies. So acidophilus, okay, well, it's kind of like knowing John Smith and John Smith. Now, this John Smith is a aid worker in Africa helping out communities. This John Smith is a murderer and kills people, right? You've got the same name, but they behave differently, right? So you've got to know your subspecies, and these subspecies are also what we call like ethical strains, like efficacy. It's all about suppressing the bad bacteria. You don't want to grow bad bacteria.
It's fascinating, and this is why we love chatting to people like yourself to really be able to understand, not all products are the same. So, Jonathan, we ask a couple of questions to all of our suppliers, and one of those questions, what is your number one health tip?
Oh, number one health tip. Oh, well, I would always say gut health, really. I mean, it's in my blood, really. I can't avoid it. It all begins in the gut. It all begins with the bacteria in the gut. But you can't deny good food, exercise, the fundamentals, like good sleep. I was reading just, how, especially, when you're over 40, how health problems can increase with bad sleep, like 200-fold, like heart problems, So sleep is such an important thing too. So, and I think, I think it's hard to nail it just down to one, but I mean, it all begins in the gut. So having that right first is important.
And Jonathan, do you have a favorite quote?
Prevention's better than the cure.
Now, one last question. What does it mean for ProGood to be on a platform like BioLife?
For me, it's like, I guess as a small Australian business, in a world where there's so many large brands and corporates and things like that, I think for me, working with another Australian company, I think Australian products have always had a sense of quality, like globally, to them. Whether that's the Chinese market or the American market, they love our dairy, they love our products. So working with another Australian platform for me is always important.
Jonathan, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you, taking that time out and providing us with all of this incredible information. I definitely have learned a lot today, and I'm sure our listeners have as well.